In the serene suburbs of a quaint town, nestled amidst lush greenery and tranquil streets, resided Sarah, a young woman with dreams as vast as the horizon. Her days were filled with the ordinary rhythm of life: work, social gatherings, and moments of quiet reflection. Little did she know, a dark presence lurked within the shadows, weaving its sinister web around her unsuspecting existence. It began innocently enough, with a casual encounter at a local coffee shop. A charming smile, a brief exchange of pleasantries, and Sarah thought nothing more of the chance meeting. But for the stranger who crossed her path that day, it marked the beginning of an obsession that would spiral into madness. At first, Sarah noticed subtle signs: a lingering gaze across crowded rooms, a coincidence of running into each other at unexpected places. Brushing them off as mere coincidence, she carried on with her life, oblivious to the growing fixation that was silently taking root. As weeks turned into months, the stalker's presence became increasingly palpable. Sarah would catch glimpses of him standing across the street from her apartment, his eyes burning with an intensity that sent shivers down her spine. She received anonymous messages, cryptic notes left on her doorstep, unsettling emails that spoke of a love that bordered on obsession. Fear tightened its grip around Sarah's heart as she realized the gravity of her situation. She confided in friends, sought solace in the arms of loved ones, but the stalker remained relentless in his pursuit. Every attempt to shake him off only seemed to fuel his obsession, driving him deeper into the shadows from which he emerged. The once familiar streets of Sarah's neighborhood now felt like a labyrinth of dread, each corner harboring the lurking presence of her tormentor. Sleep became a luxury she could scarcely afford, haunted by nightmares of being pursued through the darkness by an unseen menace. Desperate for reprieve, Sarah sought refuge in the arms of the law. Police reports were filed, restraining orders were obtained, but still, the stalker eluded capture, his movements as elusive as a phantom in the night. It was as though he existed beyond the realm of reason, a spectral figure whose sole purpose was to torment and terrorize. With each passing day, Sarah's sense of security crumbled like sand slipping through her fingers. The once vibrant hues of her world faded into shades of gray, overshadowed by the relentless pursuit of her unseen tormentor. She became a prisoner within her own life, haunted by the specter of her stalker's presence. But just when it seemed that all hope was lost, a breakthrough came. An unexpected turn of events that would finally bring an end to Sarah's ordeal. Through tireless investigation and unwavering determination, law enforcement agents were able to uncover the identity of her stalker, a troubled soul whose obsession had driven him to the brink of madness. As the truth came to light, Sarah found herself grappling with a complex mix of emotions: relief at the prospect of freedom, empathy for the troubled soul whose life had become consumed by his obsession, and the profound realization that her own resilience had carried her through the darkest of nights. In the aftermath of her ordeal, Sarah emerged not as a victim, but as a survivor, a testament to the strength of the human spirit in the face of adversity. Though scars may linger, she refused to let fear dictate the course of her life, choosing instead to embrace each new day with a renewed sense of courage and determination. And so, as the sun set on the chapter of her life marked by fear and uncertainty, Sarah stepped boldly into the light, a beacon of hope for all who have faced the darkness and emerged triumphant on the other side. For in the end, it is not the shadows that define us, but the light that shines from within. In the bustling metropolis where Emily resided, life hummed with the rhythm of urban existence. Amidst the skyscrapers and crowded streets, she carved out her own slice of normalcy, reveling in the independence that city living afforded her. Yet, beneath the veneer of everyday life, a sinister presence lingered, waiting to shatter the illusion of safety and security that she held dear. It started with subtle signs: an unfamiliar face in the crowd, a fleeting glimpse of someone watching from a distance. At first, Emily dismissed these incidents as mere figments of her imagination, the product of an overactive mind grappling with the stresses of modern life. But as the days stretched into weeks, the sense of unease grew, festering like a wound that refused to heal. As the tendrils of fear tightened their grip around her, Emily found herself plagued by a series of inexplicable occurrences. Objects would go missing from her apartment, only to reappear in the most unlikely of places. Strange noises echoed through the corridors of her building at night, sending shivers down her spine and casting shadows of doubt upon her once tranquil existence. And then there were the messages. Cryptic notes left on her doorstep, ominous texts from an unknown number, and chilling emails that seemed to know every intimate detail of her life. Each communication sent a chill down her spine, as though the sender had peered into the darkest recesses of her soul and laid bare her deepest fears and insecurities. Terrified for her safety, Emily turned to the authorities for help, seeking refuge in the arms of law enforcement in the hopes of unmasking her tormentor. But their investigations yielded little more than frustration and dead ends, leaving her feeling like a pawn in a twisted game of cat and mouse. With no tangible evidence to trace the identity of her stalker, Emily felt as though she were trapped in a nightmare from which there was no escape. Every shadow seemed to harbor unseen eyes, every noise sent her heart racing with terror. Sleep became a distant memory, replaced by restless nights plagued by nightmares and paranoia. Yet, amidst the darkness, a glimmer of hope emerged. A network of friends and loved ones who stood by Emily's side, offering unwavering support in her darkest hour. Together, they devised strategies to bolster her security, fortifying her home and providing a shoulder to lean on in times of need. But the stalker was relentless, their obsession driving them to greater lengths to torment Emily. It seemed as though there was no escape from the relentless pursuit, no sanctuary from the terror that haunted her every waking moment. Desperate for answers, Emily delved into her past, scouring her memories for any clue that might lead her to the identity of her tormentor. In the depths of her mind, she unearthed fragments of forgotten encounters, fleeting interactions with acquaintances long since relegated to the recesses of memory. Could one of them be responsible for the terror that now consumed her every waking moment? The thought sent a shiver down her spine, as she grappled with the unsettling realization that the enemy she sought could be lurking closer than she ever imagined. In a climactic showdown, the stalker's identity was finally revealed, a former acquaintance whose obsession had spiraled into madness. As the truth came to light, so too did a sense of catharsis, as Emily reclaimed her autonomy from the clutches of fear. But the scars of her ordeal ran deep, a constant reminder of the fragility of safety and the ever-present threat of darkness lurking in the shadows. As she picked up the pieces of her shattered life, Emily vowed to never let fear dictate her actions again, to live each day with courage and resilience in the face of adversity. Her story serves as a stark reminder of the horrors of stalking, a menace that knows no bounds and leaves its victims in a state of perpetual fear. But it also serves as a testament to the power of hope and resilience, a beacon of light in the darkest of nights. And as Emily moves forward, she carries with her the unwavering belief that no matter how dark the night may seem, there is always a glimmer of light on the horizon, waiting to guide her home. Chapter 1. The Beginning of the Nightmare. Sarah's ordeal began innocuously enough, with seemingly innocent encounters that gradually turned sinister. It started with anonymous messages on social media platforms, compliments that quickly escalated into unwanted advances. At first, Sarah brushed off these interactions as harmless, chalking them up to the usual online attention. Yet, as the days turned into weeks, the messages became more frequent, more insistent, and began to take on a disturbing tone. They spoke of a deep admiration for Sarah, of a desire to be with her, to possess her. It was as if the sender believed they were entitled to her affection, her attention, her very existence. Each notification sent a shiver down Sarah's spine, and she found herself constantly checking over her shoulder, wondering if the person behind the screen was watching her every move. Chapter 2. The stalker's obsession unveiled. As the weeks turned into months, the stalker's obsession with Sarah became alarmingly evident. He seemed to know intimate details of her life, referencing events and locations that she had only shared with close friends. Sarah's sense of security shattered as she realized that she was being watched, monitored by an unseen presence that lurked in the shadows. It wasn't just the messages anymore. It was the feeling of being followed, of being watched wherever she went. She noticed the same figure lingering in the periphery of her vision, a shadowy silhouette that seemed to blend seamlessly into the crowds. It was unnerving, the way this stranger seemed to know everything about her, as if they had been studying her for years, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Chapter 3. Escalation of Fear. With each passing day, the stalker's tactics grew more aggressive. He began to follow Sarah, appearing unexpectedly at places she frequented, his presence a haunting reminder of the danger that lurked just beyond her grasp. Sarah's anxiety skyrocketed, her once peaceful existence now overshadowed by a constant sense of dread. She no longer felt safe in her own home, jumping at the slightest sound, convinced that the stalker was just outside her window, watching, waiting. Sleep became a distant memory as she lay awake night after night, her mind racing with fear and paranoia. Every stranger on the street became a potential threat, every car that passed by a potential accomplice of her tormentor. It was suffocating, this constant state of hypervigilance, this never-ending battle to stay one step ahead of the looming danger that threatened to consume her whole. Chapter 4. Seeking help. Desperate for reprieve from the torment, Sarah turned to the authorities for help. But in the absence of concrete evidence, they could offer little assistance beyond issuing a restraining order. Frustrated and terrified, Sarah felt as though she was fighting a losing battle against an enemy she couldn't see. She tried to explain the gravity of the situation, to convey the sheer terror that consumed her every waking moment, but it fell on deaf ears. To them, she was just another hysterical woman, another exaggerated claim of danger in a world filled with real threats. It was disheartening, to say the least, to realize that even those sworn to protect and serve were unable, or unwilling, to help her in her time of need. Chapter 5. The stalker's relentless pursuit. Undeterred by legal measures, the stalker's pursuit of Sarah only intensified. He inundated her with incessant messages and phone calls, his threats growing more explicit with each passing day. Sarah's once vibrant life became a prison of fear, her every move dictated by the looming specter of her relentless tormentor. She tried to block his number, to delete his messages, to erase every trace of him from her life, but he always found a way back in. It was as if he was playing a sick game to see how far he could push her before she broke, before she gave in to the overwhelming despair that threatened to consume her whole. But Sarah was determined not to let him win, not to let him break her spirit, no matter how hard he tried to tear her down. Chapter 6. A desperate escape. With no end in sight to her ordeal, Sarah made the difficult decision to flee, seeking refuge in a new city far from the reach of her stalker. But even as she tried to rebuild her life, she couldn't shake the constant fear that he was still out there, lurking in the shadows, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. She changed her name, her appearance, even her jaw, but it was never enough to shake the feeling of being hunted, of being preyed upon by an unseen predator. It was exhausting, this constant state of hyper-awareness, this never-ending battle to stay one step ahead of the danger that threatened to consume her whole. Yet, despite it all, she refused to give up, refused to let fear dictate her every move. She was a survivor, after all, and she would do whatever it took to ensure that her stalker never had power over her again. Chapter 7. Finding strength in survival. Despite the trauma she endured, Sarah refused to be defined by her status as a victim. With the support of loved ones and therapy, she gradually reclaimed her sense of agency, refusing to let the shadow of her stalker dictate her future. Though the scars of her ordeal may never fully heal, Sarah emerged from the darkness with a newfound strength and resilience. She refused to live in fear any longer, refused to let the actions of one deranged individual dictate the course of her life. She was stronger than she ever knew, braver than she ever thought possible, and she would not let anyone, or anything, take that away from her. For Sarah, the journey from victim to survivor was fraught with fear and uncertainty, but ultimately, it was her resilience and determination that led her out of the darkness and into the light. Conclusion. The harrowing tale of Sarah serves as a chilling reminder of the very real dangers posed by stalking. In a world where technology allows for unprecedented access to our lives, it's more important than ever to remain vigilant and protect ourselves from those who seek to do us harm. For Sarah, the journey from victim to survivor was fraught with fear and uncertainty, but ultimately, it was her resilience and determination that led her out of the darkness and into the light. Her story serves as an inspiration to us all, a testament to the strength of the human spirit in the face of unimaginable adversity. And though the scars may never fully heal, Sarah refuses to be defined by her past, choosing instead to focus on the bright future that lies ahead. Sarah's life was like a well-oiled machine, running smoothly through the bustling streets of the city. As a marketing executive, she thrived on the fast-paced nature of her work, navigating through meetings, deadlines, and social gatherings with ease. Yet, beneath the facade of confidence lay a creeping sense of unease that threatened to shatter her carefully constructed world. It began subtly, like a whisper in the wind, barely noticeable yet unmistakably present. Sarah would catch glimpses of a figure lurking in the shadows, their presence sending a shiver down her spine. At first, she brushed it off as her imagination running wild, attributing the eerie sensation to late nights at the office and too much caffeine. But as days turned into weeks, the feeling of being watched grew more pronounced, casting a pall of fear over Sarah's once normal existence. She would catch fleeting glimpses of someone following her on her way home from work, their footsteps echoing ominously in deserted alleyways. Anonymous messages began flooding her inbox, filled with chilling threats and unnervingly intimate details of her daily routine. At first, Sarah tried to ignore the messages, hoping they would go away on their own. But the relentless barrage of harassment only intensified, leaving her feeling exposed and vulnerable. She couldn't shake the feeling that someone was always watching, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Terrified and unsure of where to turn, Sarah reached out to the authorities for help. But their response was disappointingly lukewarm, dismissing her claims as mere paranoia without any concrete evidence to support her allegations. Frustrated and disillusioned, Sarah realized that if she wanted to put an end to the nightmare unfolding around her, she would have to take matters into her own hands. Armed with determination and a fierce will to survive, Sarah delved into the depths of her own investigation, determined to unmask the identity of her tormentor. She scoured through endless streams of data, tracing IP addresses and scouring social media profiles for any clue that might lead her to the truth. And then, just when she was on the brink of giving up hope, a breakthrough emerged from the darkness. Through a stroke of luck and relentless determination, Sarah uncovered the identity of her stalker, a former colleague with a dangerous obsession. With her newfound knowledge in hand, Sarah confronted her tormentor head-on, refusing to be cowed by their malicious intent. She stood tall in the face of adversity, ready to fight tooth and nail for her freedom and reclaim her sense of security. In the end, Sarah emerged victorious from her harrowing ordeal, her spirit unbroken and her resolve unwavering. Though the scars of her trauma may never fully heal, she refused to let fear dictate the course of her life. Instead, she chose to embrace each day with renewed strength and purpose, knowing that she had the power to overcome whatever challenges lay ahead. As she looks back on her journey from victim to survivor, Sarah knows that the road ahead won't be easy. The specter of her past will always loom ominously on the horizon, a constant reminder of the darkness that once threatened to consume her. But she refuses to be defined by the horrors she has endured. finding solace in the knowledge that she has emerged from the shadows stronger and more resilient than ever before.